welcome to Games and Gimmicks, the podcast discussing video games, professional wrestling, and everything in between. I'm E. Huffy alongside the Poor Ass Gamer.
Thanks for coming over, for doing this. We're back at it again with some more wrestling-related stuff.
You bet we are. I do want to throw a thank you out to Luke and the Beanstalk for coming on for the WrestleMania weekend shows, and I do appreciate the empty chair and the gesture for me.
I was going to put a sign there originally, and I was like, he'll get it. Yeah,
who'd have thought raising a 2-month-old baby is so much work? I wouldn't have known. But Luke, it was just fantastic. We're going to obviously have you on again, and I just give you guys so much credit for watching so much wrestling. That was so much. I only watched the G1 Supercard and then a couple of highlights from Mania because I don't feel like losing my mind.
It's kind of one of those things though too, like again, it's like the way that you talk about it for like for a lazy Sunday and nothing going on, and you just put on WrestleMania and just sort of kind of listen to it, but you're not really watching it that intently. Is sort of how it's evolved over the years.
Wait, what does that tell you about the state of WWE?
It was good. It was a good because all the conclusions were good this year. But
put yourself back in us in high school in 2001, WrestleMania 17, Rock and Austin. Do you think we would honestly at that time go, "Oh, WrestleMania is here. Let's just put it on in the background. Maybe we'll play some cards,
fold some laundry.
If something cool happens, maybe we'll watch it."
Like, who are you?
No, eyes glued to the TV the entire time. So that's actually just the sad state of WWE.
Yep.
Let's get this picture image switched over.
Oh, do you want to talk about that first?
I want to get the negative out of the way so we can start. So we can
roads. We're going to talk about Dontaku, but we're going to talk about other state of wrestling type things. So lately, we've been having a lot of negative press to the WWE. We had the Jon Oliver HBO thing that came out, and I showed that to my brother recently, and it just nothing looks good for them in that particular piece. And they had not much to say about it. They trotted out like Big Show to be like, they treat us well, and like they treat you well, man. They don't treat everybody well. So then we had this article that came out of Vince McMahon blaming talent absences for WWE's declining numbers.
They had a conference call, and people were asking about the declining ratings. Nobody's going to house shows anymore, and he said, "Oh, it's because we had people out with injuries."
Yeah.
What? Like, that was the collective response from the internet. It's like, wait.
Some 15 talents. Right? Yeah, some 15 talents.
Yeah. No, you can't say that because the ratings have been declining the last, 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
part of that was to blame with the shoving of Roman Reigns down everybody's throat for a good 5 years, just like and prior to that, 10 years of John Cena and the main event picture and then you have all these people like Shinsuke Nakamura, like Rusev, like I'll even throw in Drew McIntyre, some of those like people that you could see as big name dudes later on. We only see now Seth Rollins finally getting that title, and now that it's here, it's like okay, and it's fine. Like, and they can't put that on there. It's just so shitty that like you would say something like this when the obvious point of that article or that video piece from Jon Oliver was really about, hey, these are really shitty working conditions. They work all year round. They don't get health care. They're contracted as independent contractors, but even by the government's own just like written definition of that, they don't technically qualify for that because they're not allowed to work at multiple places.
Right.
It's like, then we have the thing with Luke Harper who asked for his release, and then they're just like, no.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing to me is just like, what the fuck are you guys doing over there? Because like you have so many great people, you choose not to use them. Vince is still in control of all the singular moments in the show. So like, it's like what I talked to you about. Like, is he gonna just like fucking give up when the XFL moves in and he gets to do that for a while.
I
and
mean, because the XFL is going to crash and
it's going
burn
to
a
fail.
second
It's
time.
going to fail.
I just don't get why he's wasting his time with it.
But
But
we could put money on that at this point, like Vegas, like
that's true, yeah.
XFL will fail in a year.
Will fail, yeah.
$1,000.
Well, the funny thing is, going back to the whole, injured talent is the reason that nobody's watching. Well, here's really just what encapsulates.
They're
the
injured
whole
because they
thing.
work all the time.
Right? Yeah, there is that. But so Roman Reigns was on TV. He was in the main event picture. Ratings were declining. Roman Reigns goes out with an injury. Ratings continue to decline. Roman Reigns comes back. The ratings still decline.
Yeah.
He doesn't draw. He may sell T-shirts, sure, but nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah, they don't care.
How people are consuming WWE these days, because everybody knows their shit's so bad, they go to YouTube, just like me, to look at the highlights of what happened.
Yep.
They don't want to sit through a 3-hour Raw, an infomercial, a slapstick comedy hour.
Yep.
And they don't want to follow that up with 2 hours of SmackDown. The only silver lining that we have here is
the Fox deal.
I'm interested to see what happens when SmackDown goes to Fox, because supposedly...
Is it Fox Sports, like the cable channel, or is it like Fox, like I'm going to be able to turn on Fox on Friday and
You're
watch
going to be able
it?
to watch it after Fox and Friends?
Well, but you know what I mean? Like,
I
is
have
it
no idea.
is it
I
like
don't
the
know.
cable sports, or is it
I think.
because that
I don't know.
like still less accessible to our generation because we don't pay for cable.
Yeah, I don't know. But supposedly SmackDown is supposed to take a more sports-oriented type feel to it when they go to Fox. That was kind of the catch that, we'll see.
Supposed to.
I'm not getting my hopes up for anything at all.
Yeah.
But that is the only interesting thing in their world right now is I wonder how SmackDown's going to turn out. How are they going to balance that? And then what wraps all this up too is the whole, I feel so bad for War Machine going to the War Raiders, to the Viking Experience, to now the Viking Raiders.
Which is a better name.
And I think there's rumors that they were going to change the name again to just like the Raiders or something. I don't know. But those poor guys.
Did you know my meme that I made?
Yeah.
It got like over 4,000,
like
4,500 views making fun of that stupid stuff. Yeah.
I think for some reason they think that sponsors are going to shit a brick because you have a team called the War Raiders.
Yeah.
They're stressing out about something that I don't think would be a case. That wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, I think like they're making an issue about something that like not to get like political or anything, but like this country's been in wars for a while now. So like it's not anything. It's not like
some taboo word.
It's not like we're not taught about it in school, about all the wars that our country has been in and involved in. So the idea that people would be sensitive over something like that, and also a company that like used like the first Iraq war to sell a bunch of matches, really, if you think about it. So like
they're not innocent in any of that.
Yeah, they're not innocent in doing that stuff, and it's like just like a really shitty way to like end cap like really where you're going. We already know where you're going now because this is what's happening. Like Vince is in control. He says it's the talent's fault, even though it's not. And then he's not letting people leave when they have pretty much every right to leave if they want to, but they walk away. This is the other thing too. I was telling my brother, like, he's like, well, what if Luke Harper doesn't want to wrestle? I'm like, what does that mean for him? Like at this point, I'm like, well, it probably means he just gets a lower payday on things. Like he gets paid, but he gets to sit at home. Yeah, and it's not that much, but it's probably enough and enough to do nothing basically all day. Which I can tell you, somebody who's been unemployed for a while, doing nothing all day ain't that great.
That's why they want out of these contracts. They don't want to sit at home. They want to do, and that's
they're taking away their good years of doing what they can do. And like I also think like the WWE looks negatively on people who do get injured. If they do get injured, they see them as less of an asset because they're going to get injured again, and then they shelve them. And then who knows when they'll come back. Yeah. There's a lot of precedent for that. Yeah. So yeah, this is like unfortunate as hell. It is. Just in the climate of the conversation that's going on. But then you look at AEW and some of the positive things that they're putting out there, and you're just like, oh, okay.
I hope they knock it out of the park, and they're not gonna in any way come close to or overtake WWE. But I think what they can do,
they're positioning themselves,
is kick WWE in the ass and say, come on, get your shit together and create a good product for your fans.
If you are the gold standard of wrestling for the world, which WWE is, we know they are. That's just what they are. Yep. There's no other. There's no one else that matches billion dollar company to run all across the world. If you're gonna be that company, you have to be like what we've talked about in the past, the retirement grounds for all of those great wrestlers who work in the indie scene, who work in U.S. promotions, and then one day want to live out their glory years putting on fantastic matches for the hardcore fans, because that's the people who keep buying the damn tickets to go to the arenas, even though they're not filling up as much anymore. And I think it always, and if you can create this environment that, like, it's not like Vince McMahon creates this thing. It's like he wants to, it's like the good boys club, be the nice, good Christian boy, come back, don't do any drugs anymore, and maybe do another couple matches or stuff for us, and then we'll let you be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And
then we'll protect you a little bit. We'll make sure that you don't get in trouble again and stuff like that. Like, look at fucking Hogan.
Right.
Like, he came back after all that.
Yeah.
And they still are like, okay, come back in. And it's just it's weird, because you have to be like best friends with like Vince McMahon, this dad figure that works for a wrestling company, instead of just like what AEW was starting off with, which is like, hey, we're going to give people healthcare.
Take care of you.
Anybody of any sexual orientation or orientation at all can come work here. And we're creating an open environment for people here. They talked about, and I know it's weird because it's weird to see like Brandy Rhodes, like, we're bringing they partner with some company to bring in like an autism room, like for kids who are like autistic, to go to these events and might get overstimulated,
right? And
then they can bring them to a room and calm these kids down. Like, I've seen that many times going to a wrestling show where kids freak out over this stuff, and sometimes they might have a disability or something like that, and like, that's a great idea. So it, like, they're creating this environment that's like really nice and positive and everything, and WWE on the other end is like, fuck these guys.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, for all their their philanthropy bullshit. At the end of the day, they're still a pretty dark company. Yeah. So let's move on, because that's not fun to talk about.
No.
Let's give just a little bit of an update. New Japan Pro Wrestling, what's going on now?
Yes.
Unfortunately, we're in the time where this Wrestling Dontaku series of shows, The Road to, is outrageously long.
Yeah.
And it's hard to keep up. It really is, because they have multiple shows a week that are 3 hours in length.
Yes.
And so really, I can't say this enough, the YouTube page is so invaluable.
It helps you
to listen to the backstage comments, to watch the highlights, and really understand what's going on. I've only seen one or two of the shows, but I've read the results. But
sure.
Essentially what we got a couple of title matches coming up, but then we're going to be leading right into the best of the Super Juniors,
right? Which is tournament. What really I think everybody's sort of waiting for right now.
Yeah, so this is good. We've got some great content. We've had some great matches, but in the meantime, we're waiting for the best of the Super Juniors. They've got, I think, 20 entrants. I think it's the biggest. It's like a G1 style. It's a round robin, but for our junior heavyweights, and that's what we're really looking forward to. But solid content. Their shows have been fantastic. I'm looking at the screenshots as they scroll through here, but we're really leading into another match between Naito and Ibushi for the Intercontinental title.
Right.
Ibushi really wants to achieve that goal of being a double champion, whereas Ibushi just wants to. He signed to New Japan for life until I die.
Yes,
that isn't.
It's a crazy commitment.
That is crazy. Yeah. He's locked down for good. So they've signed it in his blood. He will die at New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's spending his days there.
That doesn't mean he's going to die in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
He's going to stay there for his whole career.
Yeah, it is a pretty amazing thing to see somebody do that. I think the reception the fans showed him immediately once he made that first announcement that he was staying, obviously with Kenny Omega being mixed into all that too as well. I think it really hit home with a lot of those fans. They really attached to him as the new person, like the new golden person that's just going to be the next big thing. And I think it's about time. It also means that we got a couple players in the background right now too as well. Like we still have Naito, who's still chasing the heavyweight gold again, but he just dropped the Intercontinental title to Ibushi, which was a great match to watch. Which that was on the G1, right?
No, that was
the New Japan Cup. Was when that happened.
It was in that shows.
And I think like you and I have always gone back and forth because it's always like I want Naito to I wanted him to be the double champ. I wanted him to have the Intercontinental belt. I wanted him to have the heavyweight belt. But things have changed. I wanted even Switchblade to stay in power just a little bit longer. But that didn't happen. So what we have now is we got the old guard a little bit back in. We got Okada back on top. He's got his new shorts on.
Got his shorts back. Yep, that was the big thing. So apparently he was in dark emo mode or broken Rainmaker when he was wearing pants, supposedly.
Fucking throwing balloons at people and shit,
Yeah. So we got some great shows coming up. I think Monday and Tuesday there's some good shows. I
will say this much. The thing that sort of turned me off from watching the Dontaku episodes or all the shows, it was, at least for the first 3 nights, it was all Japanese commentary, which for me, like, I've been on the English commentary. I've grown accustomed to Kevin Kelly. I like Kevin Kelly. He's great. Kevin Kelly, I'm saying this to you. You are probably my favorite commentator right now, at least in the current era of commentators. I like him a lot. I think some of the other color guys that add to it, even give Chris Charlton his props.
And he translates.
He translates. He knows the history of stuff that you and I we're still learning about it. So there's a lot of good things I think in the English commentary, but when we start off these big nights of stuff, you're watching. I don't know. It's different for you because you've been more adjusted to listening to the Japanese commentary all the time. Yeah. Versus me, I'm like, what's happening and who's who, and like I'm trying to remember, some of those things. But again, the YouTube page. That's the thing. You got to take a look at that stuff.
That's invaluable. What I did since I hopped in the middle of this series, the first show that I watched, I actually did watch with English commentary because I knew watching it, I'm going to get a recap of everything from Kevin Kelly. Yeah. So if ever I'm behind, I do start with an English show.
He does do that, like right at the beginning.
He does. Yep. And even in every match tells you what's been happening. If I'm current and up to date on everything, then I shift to the Japanese commentary because to me, nothing matches that energy. And I actually want to go in a bathroom and vomit whenever Naito hits a Destino. And Kevin Kelly's Destino call is like nails on a chalkboard for me. I can't stand it because he yells that so loud and sustains it.
He's trying to mimic the affectation.
Right. But you don't hear the crowd. You don't hear the count. He's yelling Destino so loud that it just cancels everything else.
But then you miss out like beautiful moments where like Master Jado comes out and he's got that kendo stick. He's got that Jado with that damn kendo stick. Hey, damn it, Jado, damn it. And then you get that, and then you also get like one nice thing when Honma comes out. Yeah, and he's got that hood on. Yeah. Every time without failing, Kevin Kelly just waits for him to take it off and goes, "Oh hey, it's Honma." And like that's the hook for like I like he made a little note about this on Twitter that like he does do that for certain wrestlers because he wants people to he harkens back to that time when commentators did that sort of thing where they sold you on the wrestler. Yep. The wrestler didn't have to do anything pretty much. Sure. So he does do that. I do the Destino thing still
'Cause I love Kevin Kelly
yeah,
too.
yeah.
I think he's fantastic, and he's so needed for bridging that gap to the American audience. So,
Yes, yeah.
So I do, like I said, I do lean at the Japanese commentary, but I definitely utilize the YouTube page. But whenever I get lost or behind, I'm on an English show. That's for sure.
And the thing is, when you watch these episodes, you're going to get a introduction to some of the new people right away. You're going to get the young lions that start out first, and you get through those, and those are a little bit of a slog type matches because those are not as dynamic as some of the things they're doing later. But some of those guys are going to be the stars in a couple years. That Ren Narita guy is going to be he's already got his own, Twitter. So if he's got his own Twitter, he's probably already going to be a wrestler, like his own thing.
Yeah.
We got like a lot of. You're gonna get a lot of tag matches, yes, for sure. But as we always say, those where the storytelling moments are coming from, and
the backstage
and the backstage stuff. Yeah. So, but it's hard to. It is sometimes hard to stay super connected to it. It's just because like these are a lot of repetitive stuff for the environment of Japan. But again, we get breaks here, which are nice compared to a lot of the other
so
stuff.
after you have a series of shows, you're going to get like 3 or 4, day, or excuse me, once you have a big series. For example, the Best of the Super Juniors. When the Best of the Super Juniors is over, we're going to get like 2 or 3 weeks with nothing. Yeah. And that's going to lead up to the next deal. So,
and that's the thing. We got to start funneling back in and start looking at some of the classic content and find some of those things that we should pick out for folks. Because there is a lot of good stuff on here. A lot of wrestlers that you probably know from the state side.
Yeah.
But we just haven't gone really in depth at looking at those yet. So, I want to talk about something big that I think you and I both really enjoyed. Maybe just cap off this episode.
Sure.
Was the Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah.
And just how fucking awesome of an announcement that whole thing was.
Another missed opportunity from WWE is to capitalize on a rivalry in a match between Cody and Goldust, or Cody and Dustin Rhodes. Holy shit! If you have not seen this, go to YouTube and check out. I think it's the Road to Double or Nothing.
Just give me 2 seconds. Just Eric, talk about it. And talk about your feelings, and I will find it for everyone to see.
So you finally get, Dustin Rhodes. His contract came to an end, and they let him go. And you had to know that he was going to help out with AEW. And it's just the story is so good and captivating.
Yeah.
And it's incredible.
It's one of those things that like we know just from watching wrestling. It just doesn't happen that often that this sort of thing is going to be because again, we just talked about the restrictive nature of WWE and what they can and are willing to do sometimes.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I look at this stuff and I go, it's crazy that, for one, they're willing to be like, he put out a whole letter and everything, like saying like, thank you for the time of all the stuff that I did at WWE.
Yeah.
All the fans and the people that supported him over the years and all the things that like, this is just such a great fucking story because like there is a reality to this that Dustin Rhodes could not fill the boots of his dad.
Right.
He was never really put into position to be like, even when he was sort of like, okay, yeah, we're going to go that route. And maybe like WCW tried it, and it just didn't work, and then he comes to WWE, creates this whole other identity of a character that's controversial. People are fucking going crazy when they see Goldust.
Yep.
Like original Goldust push the fucking limit.
Go
of
to
shit.
the end of 1995 and start watching when Goldust showed up, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about.
People were fucking mad at him.
Oh yeah, very
he
mad.
He talked about stories about people trying to fucking kill him and shit over this character that was essentially when it first came out like a transgender type character or a transsexual type character.
Right.
It's just crazy to think obviously it was the Attitude Era. You could push the limits on those kind of things.
It was even before that. It was,
it was
1995, 96. It was before that even really started.
With the wig and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And to think like that it sort of led up to this moment where he built a great reputation. He had his problems himself. Fixed his whole life. I think it was the whole DDP yoga stuff that helped him, because I know he was working with those guys. Cleaned his life up, came back, still wrestling, still doing
amazing shape,
still in amazing shape,
That's
doing a
awesome
great
matches.
job. And now he's out of WWE, and he's gonna fight his younger brother.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, this is a match. This is a highlight that should have been at a WrestleMania. And I'm going to tell you, with this video package right here, when the hell was the last time WWE even had anything remotely close to this? That had that connection, that emotion, that story. They don't do it anymore.
And this is just so simple because they're just letting them talk.
Yeah.
You can just tell
Yep.
that some of this is deeply personal. And, I got to think, just like with like brothers, I mean, you have a sister, but like for me with brothers, it was always like, there's always a thing about like, you can hit a little harder with your brothers.
Yeah.
And you could do a little bit of that stuff like up to a point, because you know how to test each other.
Right.
So I'm really interested in seeing this. This whole thing got me super interested in just wanting to see like just this match.
Right.
And that's alone, like we also have the Kenny Omega stuff. We also have Hangman Page and Pac, and we got all these big things coming in this first pay-per-view that they're doing. And then we got to talk about them having a trademark filed for something on TBS potentially too as well. So
exciting times.
God, I'm
really
like,
exciting.
This is, and this is the thing. This is the wrestling fans have been divided for years and years about the nature of, we want the sports entertainment here in the States. We wanted that. So now somebody's coming along and giving that to us, going back a little bit to the roots of things that we're aware of. But with a modern updated take on all
I
of
think
it.
they're going to offer a good balance.
Yeah.
A good balance.
And it's a start.
We know there's people that want the, sports-oriented, serious take on professional wrestling, where wins and losses matter and fights for championships matter, where the wrestlers are there not to entertain you, not to perform. They're there to compete to win titles.
Yeah.
But then they also understand that, you know what, that sports entertainment stuff does fit once in a while when done well, and when done right and done sparingly. So we are going to see that from time to time.
Yep.
So nothing but excitement for AEW, man. Let's do it. Let's bring it. Let's shake the wrestling world up a little bit here.
Yeah. I wanna see, like, again, wrestling fans don't want to have to be the saving grace for every wrestler when they get to 50 and they want to retire, and they we don't want to have to pay for their funerals. It's a pretty awful thing. Yeah. We want to pay for their health care. Yeah. But I think ultimately, like, we're seeing little bits of starting points for this stuff to get changing. So I'm excited. Yeah.
It's going to be good times ahead. So here's the final look at the new, we're going to call them Red Dust.
Yeah, right. Chrome Dust.
Crimson Dust.
Crimson Dust. Yes, I like it.
Yeah, should be fun. Should be great. So, awesome. We'll let this finish out while we cancel out here. GamesandGimmicks.com. Check out all of our content, all of our stuff, social media avenues. You can look for Games and Gimmicks. You can look for The Poor Ass Gamer. You'll only find me on Vero, because that's the only place I like to hang out, and I do it sparingly. But anyhow, Games and Gimmicks is the main stop. Check us out, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode whenever it lands.
See ya.